Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 220, Cinco de Zoho, recorded on Friday, October 14th, 2022 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
All righty then, let's start with our announcements and events, Tyler. So, as always, if you don't know, you can go to zenatta.com/events where we keep track of all of the events in the world of Zoho. As always, CRM Zen Show drops live every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I would say that's 48 weeks out of 52. Occasionally, we move it around to a Thursday or something like that, but that is rare. This month, Tyler, I guess you and I are going to be doing the Zoho full survey, full product review, tutorial, overview, call it what you will. We're going to do that next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And then Zoho is doing also on that day, but a half an hour later, a overview of Zoho people. And then we've got Zoho Analytics, Q3 2022. They're going to discuss some of the new features that they've added to Zoho Analytics. And Zoho's kind of gone crazy. They have a whole bunch of stuff. Normally between our webinars, there's 2 or 3, but you've got a bunch. You've got transforming CRM with Zoho Sign, email in Zoho CRM. You've got all of the Zoholics over in India, more email webinars, Zoho Creator Roadshows going on, more Zoholics, a CRM workshop in Manhattan. And then we will finally get back to us in November. We're going to be doing our Zoho Click full product tutorial for 2022 as well. And anyway, as always, if you head over to zenatta.com, all of our resources, you can check our resource guide where we talk about, basically every single app. It's all of the videos we've done on each of the apps and tutorials, and you can just click into any single app and see everything that we've done, from articles to videos to PDFs. They're all here. So head over to zenatta.com and get your groove on, I guess. All right. And with that, let's move on to the news.
I like that. Get your groove on. Should be our new tagline.
Groove on. All righty. So Zoho Analytics rolled out a bunch of new features not 9 minutes ago. It was more like an hour and a half ago, but when I loaded this page, it was 9 minutes ago. Okay, it tells you how long I've been up this morning here on the East Coast. 3 hours ago, they dropped out a whole bunch of new stuff that is for Zoho Analytics, your favorite application, Tyler. So start off here. It looks like you can have a new data type called duration, which seems pretty cool to me.
Yeah, so essentially, this is something that we do a lot with like formula columns or SQL tables that we ideally aren't going to need to do anymore. So essentially, if you had a date field and you wanted to know the duration, I'm assuming from whatever your date is to right now is what this will be for. You'll be able to just drop that in and say a duration. So, common use of that would be if you're looking at a report of closed won deals, right? You might run a duration off of the created time, right? And know how long it took to close those, or closed out a ticket, completed a project. So that's nice in general. And then they're adding some custom functions as well that are going to reference that same duration value. So again, it's like you could do that before, but it makes it a lot easier for a normal user who might not want to jump into the formula columns to do that same thing. So I think a huge win there. So then a couple new data sources being added as well: MongoDB, Teradata, and then all ODBC supported databases.
Big one.
So again, the more the merrier, right? Like the easier it is to get data into analytics, the better. We've talked about it all the time, but we use analytics as a cheat code for getting data into Zoho, because once you have it there, it's so easy to hit it with the deluge function and do whatever else you need. They've also now added a connector for HubSpot marketing. That's a big one. I think, the best thing that HubSpot does is their marketing implementation. So being able to pull that over to Zoho Analytics, along with a bunch of pre-built reports and dashboards. Again, always double check those pre-built reports. As we like to tell our clients, they're a good starting point, but you might need to make some tweaks based on how you're actually using that application.
Well, they've got over 100 of them now, so you can get shape there.
And then looks like some new fields for advanced analytics for Facebook ads. Cost per purchase, cost per checkout, your return on ad spend per purchase. So some nice ones there as well. I mean, again, the more the merrier. Anything that a third party source can provide, we surely want the option to pull it in. Then
Yep.
some improved abilities here for auditing activities. So who has actually done anything with a given data source? If anyone's deleted it, pulled a manual sync. This kind of in line with not too long ago, they added the ability to view a detailed sync history. A lot of these data source connections used to basically just be, well, you turn it on and then that's it. You can make edits to it, but you don't really know what happened, when it failed, if it failed. And so they're definitely expanding a lot of that, which is really nice. And then there are a couple more updates that I know are going to come around data sources, but I don't know if we're allowed to talk about them. So keep an eye
Are
out
you
for that.
excited about them though, Tyler?
I am very excited. One of them is for all of us who are consultants and partners is a huge, huge benefit. So that one I'm sure will be out before too long, but I don't think I should talk about it yet because I don't know if they've publicly announced
Right.
it.
Well, with that, then let's move on with the news and talk about Zoho Project's quarterly updates. There were quite a few of these. You've got some changes to timesheet settings. This is kind of a big one, in that members of a team are now granted access to log time for tasks or issues associated with the team. Previously, only the owners uh, could do that. So that is very helpful. More tightening up around mobile and API access. They've been making so many changes. There has got to be a large enterprise customer that needed this stuff, because it is just so
Yeah.
random. But they keep
Well,
tightening
API
this up.
access makes plenty of sense. You don't want anybody to just have API, but yeah, I think
Right.
what was it, maybe a month or so ago when they rolled out the ability to enable or disable mobile access. It's like, really
Yeah.
just kind of the same thing, but on your phone. But maybe if you want to control it by a location or something like that,
And then
you might want to
super,
disable
super
that.
state of the art. You don't see this. I mean, this is just crazy, but you can now drag and drop calendar events inside the calendar. So that's cool. Pretty good. It's a hard one to
2023,
figure
baby.
out. So we've got that one now. Project configuration used to be, if you set a project, you set it at the global level, you couldn't actually change it at the project level. Now you actually can. So you can go ahead and make some task dependency changes specifically at the project level, and override the standard dependencies. And then custom views and issues. Issues did not have the ability to create a custom view. You just had all of the standard views. So now if you are looking at your issues, you now have the ability to create a custom view. Always
And that's
helpful.
that's really nice because I mean,
Yeah.
just if you look at for those who are watching on video, you can see they have a column for classification here. If it's a performance issue, a UI issue, a security issue, like it's very reasonable that different types of people might want to look at those completely separate from one another, right? So being able to just create a couple custom views, I mean, obviously is a huge usability thing for any app.
And you can now set a budget on the back end, so you can keep track of expected payments and determine if you're, on budget, if you're going as planned, what your actual revenue is. So you can now some more enhancements basically on the back end, setting budgets around specific projects. And this actually is not minor. I like this a lot. You can now change your fonts and your font sizes. So very helpful for people with accessibility issues who might want to make the fonts a little bigger. Maybe they've
Yep.
got a font that's easier for them to read. And then tags can now be imported. So when you're doing an import into Zoho projects, tags is now something that you can assign. And that is what's going on in Zoho projects. Moving on to the other project management tool inside of Zoho, Zoho Sprints also got their updates for Q3. And there are a lot of them here. I'll start at the top, let you take over. You can now have a custom domain. So if you wanted someone to basically, if you want to have Zenatta dot
Yeah. Yeah,
project or
sprints,
website,
sprints.zenatta.com or something like
yeah,
that, so you can white label it.
sprints.zenatta.com, you can have that, and away you go. Email aliases are now supported as well. And then, Tyler, we've got some advanced timesheets.
Pretty much the
There's
same
that.
as what you've got in projects, bringing it more into line.
Yep.
Tooltips for custom fields. This is a need to
Cool.
have. Anywhere that you can add something custom, always good to be able to drop in a tooltip like that. New views as well that you can do within Zoho Sprints.
Yeah,
So
they
a
added
couple of these,
follow by me.
yep, and a couple of these here that are new: open work items, closed work items, open bug. So kind of just some default things that are assigned to you.
Yeah.
Most users of sprints care about what's my open work items, so definitely nice to just do that by default for people. Custom layouts and fields within Zoho sprints. I, for some
Big.
reason, had thought these were already here, but maybe they are not. So yeah, custom
Well, it
layouts
says
and
these were the
fields.
Q3 updates, so we might have covered this already, right?
Got it.
So that could
And
be
then
it.
now you can import data from Zoho projects into Zoho sprints. Now this is a little different from how it used to be, where you could be in projects and you could say, treat this milestone as a sprint. It would kind of kick it over there. This is like pulling in the full project. I will highlight though, there's a little bullet over on the right hand side. You cannot import more than 5 projects at a time. So if you have a bunch of projects that you want to move over, you'll just have to grab 5, do it, grab 5, do it. So a little bit of a pain in the butt, but once you're caught up with any of them that you did want to import, it should be not a problem.
And you can only import project portals that you are the owner of. Probably a good idea.
Yeah.
And you cannot schedule multiple sequential imports at the same time. So it could be that when you do these 5 and you hit import, it might take a little while.
Yeah, and you've got to
So,
wait. It's a lot of data if you've got a lot of this stuff over in a project.
and now, why not? In sprints now, you have a rich text editor. Um, This is something that I believe the entire Zoho CRM world has wanted in notes for since they launched Zoho CRM, but we still don't have it. So I feel like there's hope here. Maybe the CRM team could walk across the hallway over to the Sprints team and say, "Hey, can we borrow that code?" and just come and drop it in. You know, and it now supports custom functions. That wasn't something it did before, Tyler, I guess.
Yeah, so it
So
looks like it did not support it before. So now you can actually build out some custom functions and have them running on your various actions inside of sprints.
yep. And they changed the pricing, but not much. It's still there's a free version, $1 per user version. I think the most it gets up to is like $5 per user for their ultimate monster version. So well in line with Jira pricing, which is what this competes with. And nice job from the sprints team there. All righty. And then in the CRM, they've just made some changes to the portal. If you don't know, if you go back into settings in the CRM, there's portal, and you can actually set up access so that your people inside your CRM have access to see things associated with their records. So you can tell them what fields they can see in the account and the deal, and a few other fields like that, some attachments, those kind of things. You can kind of share those fields with your end users, serving as a portal. You can allow them to update things or not update things. It's and so they've made some changes to it. Small, you can now basically change a user's email address. You've not been able to do that before. So if they change their address, you kind of had to delete them, start a new
Re-invite them
record.
and go through the whole flow again.
You had
Yeah.
to go through the whole thing. And then just a ton of things around the emails that are sent out to users. So you have the ability to highly customize the emails and the templates that go out to the users. And it's just kind of brought it up with a lot of the other products in line, and the ability to do that as well. And then some options around unconfirmed user types. So basically you can always sort and say, hey, show me all my active users in the portal, my confirmed users, my deactivated users. Now under unconfirmed, you can say, show me the ones that have not yet accepted their invitation, because maybe you want to send that back out to them, or ones who've had their login suspended. And that is the updates to Zoho CRM portal. If you are considering a portal, if you need basic functionality, I think this can do it for you. If you want something a little more customizable look and feel, and just huge amounts of features, go check out zportals.com. They have the best portal software. It's a WordPress plugin that allows you to connect to just dozens of applications. Good product. All right. And then also in CRM, Tyler, the reason for loss field in the deals module is now a pick list field. So
Yep.
this is slowly rolling out, they're saying. But what this is going to do is, if you go into your deal, go into settings on the back end, you're going to see under unused fields, you're going to see this reason for loss field, and you can drag that right on over into your deal. So that will be a visible field for your people. You can customize the pick list in it as to what you want your basic reasons for a deal loss to be. Couple of notes around this that I'll highlight here. New users. So right now, when you close a deal, you get a pop-up box that says, why did you lose it? And it's a text field, and you have to type all that information in. So it's random, it's not consistent, it's hard to report on, those kind of things. A lot of people have done workarounds, and they've already created a pick list as to why they've lost the deal. That's not going to change. It'll still be there. You don't have to worry about it. That's going to be there. If you're a new Zoho user, you're never going to see that text box. It's gone. You're only going to have that reason loss field that's going to appear automatically in the deal that you can customize. If you're an existing user who's had this for a long time, that reason for loss went into the notes field. It's going to stay in the notes field. None of those are going to go away. But on December 2nd, that text box is gone. So if you liked the free flow form ability to write why they lost the deal, you'll have to create another custom field. So if you are an existing user and you have these text fields and you like them, where you're basically able to type in your reason, you're going to have to create another custom field in your deal where people can actually free flow type this information in, because in December, it's going away. On December 2nd, you won't have that field there anymore. All right. And with that, Tyler, let's get right on into the implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this is a build that we did for clients not too long ago here that JP on our team built out working with Tom. So, on the show, we do poke a little bit of fun here and there at Zoho bookings, but, while it does have some drawbacks, we do have a couple clients that are using it successfully for their sales and service bookings. Really, the trick is that if you are going to manage your entire calendar through bookings, then you might not have some of the main issues that we end up bumping into, syncing with Google Calendar or Outlook, and things are just not quite coming across. And so for these clients, Zoho Bookings allows some reporting and review of the data, but it's very limited on if you actually wanted to run some analytics around, what's the most popular time of day, what sales reps are doing the best at keeping their calendar open, et cetera, et cetera. And so what we did is using Zoho Flow, which has a bunch of different triggers. Something is booked, when it's rescheduled, if it's canceled. We can actually write that to a Zoho Flow, kind of process the data a little bit there with some custom functions, and then drop it directly into Zoho Analytics. It can also then update rows. So if there's a reschedule or a cancel, it's not adding a new one. It's actually searching the existing row on the booking ID and updating it accordingly. Couple little caveats with this is those triggers in Flow are for all of your workspaces at once. You can't control it only to look at a specific workspace. So in this case, we wanted to have some different databasing depending on what workspace it was in. So we used a couple little decision trees and things like that to parse it into the right data tables. But now that it's up and running, it's kind of a little bit of a set it and forget it, where it's just going to keep running in the background and keeping this data set of all the various over inside Zoho Analytics.
So, hey, very cool. Nice implementation. And as you said, Tyler, I mean, with Zoho Bookings, hey, there are certain clients where it works perfectly well for, because that's what they're using. And, they're not syncing out to external calendars. They're just kind of managing their internal bookings for their salon or whatever. And it can work exceptionally well. So anyway, nice, John Paulo. Very, very good. So JP comes through. All right. And with that, get to some things we noticed. So Tyler, this is a big one. I guess we can't say we noticed it. You saw it over on a post inside of Partner Connect, which is Zoho's area where all of us little partners get to talk to each other. But we haven't seen an announcement for it anywhere. And it is, in fact, just a major development. And that has to do with client-side. now works on mobile applications.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cases where you may want to use client-side scripting instead of Deluge. And so, obviously you can do more with Deluge, but the advantage of client-side scripting is that it runs instantly. So like when Brett and I create a new deal in our CRM, it presets the deal name, it fills in some standard values that we can always adjust. It copies over some info from the contact record, like what their initial form submission was, and it does it all live on the page. So I don't have to save and wait for it to run. So big use cases a lot of the times are things like naming conventions. Because with the deluge function, they have to just like put something random into the name field, click save, and then it replaces itself. So from like a user experience perspective, it's kind of funky to like have to type into a field just knowing that it's going to be overwritten. Um, Really, the only downside to client scripts has always been that they hadn't worked in the mobile app a couple times where Brett has actually suggested, hey, if you need it, you can always pull up CRM in the browser, on your iPad, and then it will work just fine. It just wasn't working in the mobile app itself. And at some point, I don't actually know when, Zoho kind of sneakily rolled out an update and enabled client scripts within the app, which is awesome. And so I actually tested it ourselves. I went on, my phone and I opened up our CRM in the mobile app, clicked to create a deal from a contact for this script. It does a little spinny wheel, and then everything just fills in perfectly. So really,
Fantastic.
really cool. Huge use case there. I mean, I know we have a couple clients who that actually can help like right now. They can jump over to the app and stop using the browser. So nice
Yeah, I
update for
already
Zoho.
switched one
Maybe
over
we just missed
yesterday.
the story. I don't know when it happened exactly, but yeah, we thought we'd do a little PSA just in case anybody doesn't know that quite yet.
Yeah, we actually switched a client over about, so they had iPads and they were running the desktop version of CRM on the iPad, so their client-side scripting would work. And but then they needed to take photos. And the thing is, when you're running the desktop version, you lose a lot of that functionality that you get when you're using an application. One of those is
Yeah.
just directly take a photo from the iPad. Well, then they'd have to switch back to mobile, bring up the record, take the picture from the iPad. So this now everything works. So good on Zoho. So if you're doing that, you got it out. It should work. And with that, Tyler, let's get over to Club Zen and see what our code share of the week is. So, Tyler, I'm going to let you take this because I see nothing and hear nothing right now.
I'm about the same, but I remember what it was. So the our coach of the week this week is something that Greg dropped in here. It's actually specific to Zoho Analytics, and it's a quick and easy way to drop in a formula column that will replace your state names with state abbreviations. So it's actually a pretty common thing that we'll find is that, you know, companies come in, they've got all these different state names, everything is kind of long form. Maybe you want to compare it to some third party data source, but it requires the short version of the name. So in this case, what we're doing here is dropping in a formula field and essentially remapping all of the long form names into the abbreviations. Couple ways to do this. I really like the second option here. I guess both of these options are fine because if there isn't a match for any of those, it's just going to keep the name that you already had. So you're not going to lose any data in a column like this. Really just a drag and drop way. I mean, you really shouldn't even have to change anything at all when you pull this into analytics for yourself. The only things you may need to change, just depending on the name of your field, is the state in quotes at the very beginning, right after if case, and the state in quotes at the very, very end. Those you would need to make sure match the name of the field. So it might be billing state, it might be shipping state for you. But just a minor little tweak. Again, lots of ways to do this. You can do it with a SQL table and do a join and make a whole new table. But if you don't want to go through all that hassle, this is kind of a quick and easy way to get essentially the same thing.
Yeah. And you also, what this doesn't catch is people that type in caliph or something
Yeah.
like that, right? You got to think there are some states that kind of have some people do different abbreviations for us. So you'll have to take into account those as well. All right. So a nice start. If you don't know, head over to club.zenatta.com. That is our That's our community where you can talk about what's going on in the world of Zoho. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and ask them, and we will answer. If we don't answer on this show, we've got people in here all the time answering these questions. We've got a general discussion forum where you can talk about things, the co-chair forum, and then of course there's the Q&A where you can ask us your questions that we will answer on this show. We also have the news forum. In here, we drop in the news that we're going to talk about this week. So as the week's going on, we're dropping in those news stories so that you can, go and look at those in real time and stay up with what is going on in the world of Zoho. And that is club.zenatta.com. We're making a lot of changes to it. We're trying to clean up some formatting on it. Very nice. Very nice. Yes. Yes. And also, I think Freddie was throwing that out there so that I would mention that an angel got its wings. We hit 500 subscribers over at Club Zenatta this week. So I want to thank everybody for your support over there. And with that, Tyler, let's get into our read of the week. I cannot believe it has been 5 years, but it has been 5 years. Wow. So Zoho One was released 5 years ago. I think they announced it at Zoholics in 2017, and that was when it was all announced. I did not make that because I almost died and was in the hospital for about a month during that Zoholics. So that was one of them that I missed. But it was a big announcement. It originally came with 35 apps and has since grown over time. They've made so many refinements to it. The unified user interface. I mean, initially when they did it, it was like, "Hey, here's those 35 apps. They're in a bundle," and
Yep.
you really, while it was a great bundle and it was a heck of a deal, that was kind of the bargain, right? But now they've made it so that it's kind of its own little operating system. It's the operating system for business, and you can manage all your users from one nice dashboard. They've made a lot of nice changes, and this article kind of sums all of those up.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those products where I think the majority of our customers end up on it because once you start using one app, you use another, it becomes kind of just like a no-brainer to roll over to it. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see the growth of it over time. I think for small, mid-sized businesses, it's just really hard to beat. And it's kind of a nice roll up of just, where it's been, why they did it, some of the core problems they were looking to solve, and what they've done over time to continue to improve it. So big shout out to Zoho. We've always loved Zoho One. It's what we use, run our own business on it. So yeah, it's again one of those things where it's hard to beat. I mean, sometimes we'll be talking to a prospect and they're not on Zoho yet, and it's like, what's the catch, right? Like, why is all this stuff $45 a month or $37 annually? And it's like, well, because they're just okay with leaving money on the table, and it's one of their core values. I remember back when we did the past 20 years of Zoho, back then they did that whole thing around their values is that they're fine with leaving money on the table. And I think this is a product that they definitely do that because $45 is just ludicrously cheap for everything that you're getting.
Yeah, I'm scanning the article here. They say that the very, very first year this launched, they had 12,000 plus businesses joining. I'd love to know how many people are on Zoho One now. It's got to be in the hundreds of thousands, would be my guess. Maybe pushing a million. They've got 85 million users now, so I don't know how many are using it, but it's kind of the key application. It started off like it was $1 a day was their code. Run your entire business for $1 a day per employee because it was $30 per month if you paid annually, $360 a year. Now it's only $1.20, and that just happened last year, so it's still exceptionally cheap. And a great bundle of apps, and they just keep adding to it. I mean,
Yep.
every year, sometimes I'm thinking they're going to release a new app, and that's not going to be part of Zoho One. But yes, it is part of Zoho One, and they keep adding those applications in. So, congratulations to Zoho. They really kind of lead the way on this, and I think for a lot of businesses, this is a salvation for them because they can run their business from books to inventory to CRM to social media to their marketing campaigns, and they can do all of that for a very cost-effective price. So, all righty. And with that, let's get on to head over to Zenatta and see what our read of the week is. All right, 10 must-have browser extensions and apps that make Zoho better. This is an update of an article we did a very, very long time ago. We kind of cleaned things up and updated some of these, moved some things around, took some out that we don't use anymore. So we will head this off with Z portals. We talked about it earlier in the show. It is, if you need a client portal, head over to Z Portals and check out their portal. It works with CRM, Desk, Books, Inventory, Vault, Sign, Work Drive, subscriptions. It's a great application. And then also we have Link Match. We've talked about this a lot on our show. You can go check out all we've talked about there. That basically, you're in LinkedIn, you've got a contact, you can click and add them directly into the CRM. So there's really, really nice functionality there. And then a lot of plugins for Chrome as well that link matches as well. But, if you're using Gmail, you've got full CRM integration. Zoho's got an app called Notebook Web Clipper Service. Really, really good. They've got an annotator, lets you annotate anything. Z-Share, so if you're using Zoho Social, you can just do quick social media sharing. A big app we use all the time, Clear.io, for bulk email validation. I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. We talked about this application in depth. We even wrote an article on it. We had a whole thing on how not to get marked as a spammer. And this is one of the keys to that as well. Zoho Sign for Gmail as well. Zoho Vault. And this has gone through a full revamp over the last couple of years. So Zoho Vault is your password manager. The Chrome extension for that is great. And then Message Media, which used to be called Smooth Messenger, which has changed its name. I don't know. It's anyway, I think it's still, I don't know what it's called now. But this is one of the best ways to do SMS inside of Zoho CRM, and worth taking a look at. We found out something interesting talking about Message Media here, Tyler. I had no idea. We've been looking for a long time around how do you have one phone number that you're using for voice over IP and SMS? And it's been difficult. There's an app around Ring Central that you can get, but we really like the way Message Media handles things. And little did we know that it is possible. You know how you can port a phone number, so you change from AT&T to Verizon, and they port your phone number over. Well, it turns out you can leave your voice service with one carrier and transfer your SMS service to another carrier, which I had no idea. So that is something we're exploring now and we're playing around with, which would allow you basically to have text and voice, keeping the same number, using Message Media, using your existing provider that you like for voice. So very, very cool. Very cool. So kudos to the marketing team. Nice article, nice update as well. And with that, let's get to our pick of the week. So Wayne and I, he's our director of marketing, we're chatting. What's the pick of the week? It's hard, Tyler. It's hard to find a new pick every
I know.
week that is actually
Every now and
working.
then a listener or someone on Club Zen will throw us their suggestion for a pick of the week, and it is just great. So, as a PSA, I guess before we jump into these, if you have apps you like, please let us know about them. This is we've done 220 of these episodes. It gets harder and harder to find picks of the week. So, if you're using
But this
something
one
and it's
is like
shiny and it's fun, just send it our way.
yeah. This one's a new favorite, buddy. This is crazy. So it's called Print Friendly. And you ever try to print a web page and it's just an absolute disaster? Like you go to print it, there's so many pages and it's just a mess. Well, what this allows you to do is first of all, it makes an attempt to clean up the web page to begin with. It removes ads, it does all that kind of stuff. But then it allows you to even clean it up more. So one of the example here is like Wikipedia. So it's looking at this Wikipedia article and it's going to bring it in. This one happens to be on the Eclipse, and you can see how neatly cleaned up it is. But you'll notice as I hover here, you have the ability to delete sections, words from this article. So if you're kind of going through and you say, "Oh, I really don't want this formula field here," if you're watching us on YouTube, you just delete it. That's going to be gone from whatever you're going to print out. So you can kind of clean everything up. But it does, again, if you're watching us on YouTube, wow. I mean, a great job of cleaning this up, getting rid of all the sidebars, getting rid of all those kind of things. And again, just easily allowing you to, clean things up if that's what you wanted to do. So I'm really really stoked about this app because occasionally, I mean, they also talk in here about recipes and doing that. You know, if you wanted
Mm,
to print a recipe, because those oftentimes are just a mess when
yeah.
you go to pull a recipe over, and it does a great job. You know, again, you know, this one's got like a lot of big images. Maybe you don't want those, you just want the recipe, so you can kind of clean the images up out of this entire thing, clean up little things, and just really hone it down so that it's just your recipe, right? Anyway, great app, print friendly. Really stoked that we were able to find this. It's also for publishers. So where they make their money, that's whenever we get an app like this, we ask ourselves, how do they make money? What's their monetization? It's free for end users. But if you're a publisher, they've got a WordPress plugin or some HTML code, so you actually can embed this directly on your page. And when someone can, they can
Got
then
it.
print whatever's on your page, and it'll give them a nice version of that as well. So never heard of these guys, but shout out to Print Friendly. Cool app, huh?
Very cool. You know, I don't have a printer in my house, so maybe not for me, but I could imagine.
Really? No printer.
Yeah, no printer. No printer around here.
What if you're dealing with the
Probably need
government and they
one.
make you print
Yeah, I
stuff
probably
out?
need one eventually. Yeah, it's on the list.
All right. And with that, let's move on to our tip of the week. All right. Wayne is back at it. And this is Zoho Campaigns configuring email opt out sync to Zoho CRM. So, what's he talking about here, Tyler?
Yeah, this is a need to do with the new campaigns integration. And so essentially, everyone's favorite friendly lumberjack here, Wayne, will be running you through how to actually map the campaigns unsubscribe to a different field in the CRM. Because by default, it's actually going to map the unsubscribe to the email opt out field within CRM. But the thing with that default email opt out field is that it actually will prevent you from sending any emails from CRM to that customer. And so the reason that's a big deal is that, we have a customer who, after they make a sale, there's, 6 to 9 months of compliance work that needs to go in before a product can be shipped. And obviously, as all those compliance steps are happening, the CRM is automatically sending emails to that purchaser, letting them know, like, hey, we've completed this. We need your input on this, and so on and so forth. And so, any of those types of emails following up with someone who purchased, you'd classify as what's called a transactional email, which means that it's not the same as a marketing email where there is an unsubscribe, right? Like, we've taken money from you. We must email you to make sure we can fulfill our product or service for you. And when that default email opt out field in CRM is checked, you cannot send any emails to that contact. And so, right, if someone were to unsubscribe from our newsletter, right, but they just signed their proposal and they want to engage with us, I need to be able to email them to get our kickoff set up. So it's really important to do this to make sure that you are splitting out your campaigns opt out from your CRM email opt out. And it's actually new with the new campaigns integration. You used to not be able to do this, and it was always a huge thorn in my side, at least. So very nice feature update and a quick little run through, about 3 minutes, right? So it's nothing crazy to do this, but highly recommend you do it sooner than later because it's definitely a best practice.
Yep. There's a few steps here. And I guess maybe for those who don't like to watch videos, maybe we'll write an article about this as well.
Yeah, we
The
should.
step.
It's really important. It's a really
Yeah.
important thing to do with the new sync.
Step by step guide on this. And if you don't know, we produce more video content than anyone in the world of Zoho on a weekly basis. And most weeks that includes Zoho, but sometimes they beat us. So you should head over and check out our YouTube channel. That's Zenatta. That's youtube.com/Zenatta. And hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get reminders when we post our new videos. There's a whole bunch of we try to post hopefully meaningful content that is easy and clear to understand. That is kind of our mission in doing this as well. And Tyler, we are almost at 7,000
Almost there.
subscribers. We are 40 away. We Next week we will be awarding another angel some wings. That will be good. I know. So anyway, that is our YouTube channel. Please head over there and shout out to Wayne on that extremely important tip, timely tip with the new campaign sync. And with
Thanks,
that,
Ryan.
Tyler, let's get to some Q&A. All righty. Horse Chick 48, after watching Automating Zoho Campaigns topic assignment based on CRM tags 2022, says, awesome video. Do you know if there is a way to remove a specific client tag once a workflow has been completed without removing all of the client tags and that be reflected in the CRM? Tyler?
So if you're syncing over your tags in the campaigns integration with CRM, then all of them are going to flow over into the like tags field in campaigns. And then inside of your workflow, you can actually have an action to remove a specific tag once they've hit a certain point in the workflow. And by removing it on the campaign side, it should go ahead and remove itself on the CRM side as well. And it won't affect the other tags because you're actually just calling out to remove a specific tag at that point in your workflow automation.
All righty. And then TA, after watching the Zoho CRM full product overview 2022, hey, we have residential clients instead of B2B. Would we still need to add company before we could automate the contact to deal transition? Or is this a feature you don't need to? You can create a deal directly from a contact. You don't have to have a company
Yep.
associated with it.
I think by default company might be required in leads, but you can just make it unrequired if it is.
Yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think it might be required, but it doesn't need to be.
All right. And then after watching Getting Started with Zoho Creator Part 1, App and Form Creation from Josh just a few months ago, I have a query. I want to populate data in the form from an external website. For instance, a user will key in the company number and the company name, and the address will be populated by the form automatically. Can you do this in Zoho Creator? We do not think so. I don't think that is
Yes, it
something you
depends.
can do.
It depends what your workflow is. So you're not able to pre-fill a creator form on like a redirect, right? So like if you had like some type of form, they fill out some of it and it redirects them to a creator form to kind of finish things out. You're not able to pass that data through like URL parameters and pre-populate it. But if you did have a form and they added, and Josh, if you're listening, chime in if I'm wrong here. And so if you had a creator form and they put in a company number and a company name, or maybe just the company number, you could run a script on page that would like search CRM and pull in the rest of that information dynamically. It just can't happen on like a redirect the same way that a lot of forms work with like URL parameters.
Right. So it could, like, if you put a zip code in and you're on form itself, it could then do a lookup and give you city and state.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. All right. And then the next question is from Christy, who watched the Zoho Projects full product tutorial. Is there a way to change the view of the calendar? I don't like seeing the completes line from start to finish, the date of the task project. I was wondering if there's a way to change it. You can filter it, but you can't change it. Yeah.
Yes, you can filter out the tasks so they don't show up, but we don't have too much control over the UI of the calendar. So they do unfortunately show that way where they kind of go from start to finish.
But you can now drag and drop events, Christy, in the calendar. So you got that going for you. All right, and TCHI Tom, after watching the same after watching Zoho Campaigns full product tutorial, if you set up a workflow that pulls anyone who has a tag, including Facebook, do you have to add the tag in the campaign data or in the CRM data? In other words, if I am in CRM and I change the contact to a Facebook tag, will that tag automatically transfer to the campaign list, or do I need to add the tag to the campaign list to start them in an automated workflow? In general, if I make changes to a field in the CRM, will it auto transfer to campaigns, or do I need to sync every time I make a change? As long as you've set everything up on both sides, Tom, you got all your tags over in campaigns and CRM, you change it in CRM, it should be syncing in real time.
Yeah, as long as using the new syncs,
The
they'll
new sync,
catch those types of updates pretty much instantly.
yeah. The old sync is no. But the new sync, you're good to go. All right. And Grant, after watching email workflows in Zoho campaigns 2022, thank you for your video, but you do not show how to continue the flow after it is delivered. What is the logic here? If delivered moves on to another email after 3 days, and if open moves to an email after 1 day, I assume they sit in a delivered state until either of the time conditions is met. Now, if they move down the delivered but not opened funnel, but then do open an email, I cannot add them back to the flow under opened email. I have to duplicate the flow emails under the initial delivered but opened. Very frustrating. You able to parse this there, Tyler?
Yeah, so it's tricky. Like I get what you're saying. Basically, like, you send email one and you're saying if they open it within 1 day, send them down this path. Otherwise, we're going to send them down this other path. But let's say that on day 5, they open that first email. It does not count it as an open and like move them into where they would have originally gone if they had opened it within 1 day. There's no real solve for it, Grant. I mean, really, at the end of the day, like what what the workflow or what their design intent with the workflow is that you're basically setting a band around how long you're willing to wait to consider someone as having opened an email, and that always depends on like your use case of how long you should wait. But yeah, there's unfortunately not really a quick fix for this. There are some things you can do, like you can put further down the workflow on the delivered side, like if they've clicked a certain link or done a certain thing on a previous email, you could like branch them back into the opened flow. But I do agree it gets a little bit convoluted when you're trying to kind of map out very long, complicated ones, especially if you want to still consider previous actions that could have just been taken outside of the like cadence that you've set up.
All right, we have a correction from the chat room. Josh would like to inform everyone that you can populate creator forms using URL parameters.
Oh, okay.
So you can do that. So thank you for that. Oh, there it is. So uh, anyway, thank you for that clarification, Josh. And moving on to the next question. Christopher, after watching the Zoho One full product tutorial, hey, Zenatta team, we are in the process of deciding if we should use Zoho sites or WordPress for our website building effort. I wanted to ask if your view on sites has changed since we released the video. I'm not sure what we said on the video, Christopher, but bottom line is if you've got just a very basic, maybe 3-4 page site, you don't need a lot of plugins, you're not using a lot of external stuff, Zoho Sites is great for you. If
Yeah.
you have a much more complicated site, you need plugins. The big problem is you wake up one day and you say, gosh, I wish our website had a
An
really
event
nice
calendar.
events calendar.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't exist. So
Yeah.
or I wish it had a custom community that we could put in there, like Club Zenatta.
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. So those are the ones. So every time you kind of look at that, I wish you need to. You've got thousands and thousands of plugins for WordPress, um, but again, it depends on what your website's going to be. If your website's going to be 100% Zoho stuff, you're going to be good to go,
Yeah.
because you can put
Just what
sales
we
IQ
found
in
for a
there.
lot of people is that like you're probably going to outgrow Zoho sites at a certain point, right? And the cost of using WordPress with like the Gutenberg editor is like minimal anyways. Or it's like even if like that simple site we're describing on Zoho sites could also just be very easily built on WordPress for like barely any cost per month. So at the end of
$10
the
a month.
day, like unless you just know like, hey, this site is always going to be this very simple thing with a quick little blog and a contact form, probably just go with WordPress. So then you don't have to move it over later, once you want that events calendar or the community or e-commerce or any of these other things where on a WordPress site, you just click in a plugin and then you're good and you have this new
Yeah, and you also
feature.
have to take into account growth. Not only the complication, but let's say you're extremely popular. You might want to be somewhere where they can kind of turn up the bandwidth a bit for you and do things like that. There's a whole bunch of things around there. So, all right, and then Mandar, after watching Zoho subscriptions full product tutorial, hi, can we use Zoho subscriptions to automate credit card bill payments. We have around 50 plus clients with almost 200 plus credit cards for which we need to pay on due date. But at present, due to it's all manual work, which is quite tedious. You can, if and that's kind of one of the only ways you can. Basically, if they are paying the same amount on the same day of the month, you could set up a subscription for that, and it will
Yep.
work.
And you could also do it with a recurring invoice in books, but really at the end of the day, they function almost identically. It just depends on how you want it to look and feel.
All righty, and then Raynell, after watching the video that Wayne just put out, configuring email opt-out sync for CRM, after all those steps, should we turn it on? Yes, Raynell, you should definitely turn on the
Absolutely.
new sync. It is definitely worth it. There are just so many benefits to it across the board. And I think that's covered in another video that Wayne did as well. All right, and then Kingsley, after watching the Zoho One or the Zoho CRM full product overview from this year, said, how do I make an already existing contact a lead? Well, you really can't. You can write a custom function. So you can have a button in the contact and you click that and it'll make a lead out of it and delete the contact if that's what you want to do. Um, Not really recommended
Yeah.
though, I would say.
I mean,
Sometimes,
if that's like a thing that's consistently happening, you would almost want to consider making a certain type of like deal pipeline and running it through a deal, because, and again, Kingsley, it always just gets really nitty gritty with like exactly what you're trying to do. But as a general best practice, like leads are really best used as like your pre-qualified contacts list. And so once you've kind of qualified someone out of leads into contacts, you don't want to rerun them through that same process. And so most of the time, if there's something where you kind of need to like re-enter someone into a pipeline or add them into a new one, you're better off setting up a different type of deal flow, either using a layout or the deal pipelines feature, and using that instead. But if you did need to, if you're like, hey, I get what you're saying, but look, the way things work, I just need it to be a lead, then you would need to use a custom button in the contact record.
right. And we have a lot of clients that just get rid of the leads module. I mean, it depends. If you're a company that isn't getting, going to trade shows and getting a list of 500 people, or, and you don't want to pollute your contact database with it. You want those to go into leads. But if you're not that kind of company, you can just keep a contact, and you can just have a, contact type field and say it's a
Yeah.
client, it's a prospect, it's a lead, it's this, and you can just define them directly in contacts
Yeah.
that way.
Or a lot of people that do like account-based prospecting, where
Yeah.
it's like before we go and find a good fit person, we're going to go and find a good fit company, and then we're going to fill them out with a bunch of relevant contacts. So there's some cases where you just do away with leads altogether because they want to have, Brett Martin and Tyler Colt under the account from right out the gate. They don't want totally separate leads for each of us.
But
But it always gets into the nitty-gritty.
to answer your question directly, you can do it with a custom function and a little button that you can put up there. That might be a good code share. Such a simple thing, just to do that. Alrighty, and then Laboyle asks from over at Club Zenatta, how can I bulk update the prices of multiple subscriptions in Zoho subscriptions? In bulk update options, the price is not listed. Is there any other way? Yes. I just checked this out before. You can go into the subscriptions. You can go ahead and do an export of all of your products. You can edit that spreadsheet, bulk update it that way, and then you can do an import back in and have it overwrite your existing products. That's the only way I can figure out to do it. And I guess that's it, Tyler. Another CRM Zen show is in the bag, and everything's
Keep
cleared
going.
up. Of course it has. It's perfect. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this show, please head over to zenatta.com, and you can drop us a line there, or head over to club.zenatta.com, ask us a question, and we will get to it next week on the show.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. We'd love if you would follow us on your favorite social media platform and subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
All right, everybody, get your groove on. Have a great weekend. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.